Hello, this is Pigsy to another video, and I think some of the main interest is the coronavirus. I would suggest that people check out 1918 influenza pandemic, and they will learn a thing or two. There's a lot of things I wasn't aware of, how it spread around Europe, and how it probably defeated the Nazis, to be honest. When it got to Germany, it was causing a lot of contagion as well. Maybe that's why Hitler was in a bunker. He was trying to avoid catching the blooming influenza. Or maybe he did have it there and he died anyway. So, who knows? Or the other stories who went to Argentina. But that's never been really fully proven, but it's all possible. Anyway, with with COVID-19 or the coronavirus, there's what's going to most likely kill a lot of people is panic and fear. And what people need to do is reduce their panic and fear and anxiety to the minimum. Which I know is difficult. If you've got the virus, then you want to be in the most comfortable, relaxed position you can, and just concentrate on the virus to getting better from it. There are people that have I was seeing some woman, a Spanish woman, her partner had died. She was having difficulty breathing, and she had gone to the hospital for medical help. She doesn't know what to do, and there's nothing they can do for it, to be honest, because of the type of the virus it is. It's not like there's a magic pill and it shuts it down. There's not a button or something you can switch it off. It's you and the virus. All they're going to do is give you things, because normally when you take things, you can anti-inflammatory, painkillers, these kind of things. I mean, there's some other things. There's like steroids, so that encourages your body to heal quicker. There's some other little sort of chemical things that you can jig your own body's healing responses. But ultimately, there's still your body's ability to heal is required. There's nothing else that can fix that. And so you can build natural biological strength to resist things. Like I'm going to make, for my sort of strategy plans, I need to get some water, and I'm going to be making some colloidal silver. And then I'm going to use that as a kind of way to manage. If I do have, I do get it, then I'd probably take a large dosage of colloidal silver and hope that blasts out a lot of it. I have found it before. It does clear your airways, and your breathing to be improves, because it's got a very antibacterial nature of it, and some other properties as well. It's highly positively charged, so it straps itself to negatively charged viruses. However, it depends on how the coronavirus operates, whether it's negatively charged. There's also an issue that there's an assumption, and this is what makes it an issue, is that it's going to act like flu. Now, it's either an influenza-based virus anyway, and it could even be the swine flu. But what's happened is it's infected something else, another creature, and it's come back down the chain. It's come back. It's very intelligent. It's collectively a very intelligent virus. So the issue is, the more people are infected, the more intelligent the virus becomes, because in a bizarre way they're all connected, and it's this quantum physics. If that, even at the quantum, it's not fully understood. It's a label to explain stuff that doesn't fit into physics or biology or something else. They've got this quantum thing. So it's like, well, that covers everything we can't figure out, and we just chuck it in the quantum box. So it's becoming more intelligent. It wants to survive, and it wants to spread, and it does by compromising the hosts, and it uses their breathing abilities. I'm trying to think of the right words. It seems quite out of my head for some reason. So respiratory tract. It's using that and then coughing to spread itself. It doesn't ultimately want to kill the host. This is something my mum said was quite interesting. is that it's evolving to survive. That's all it wants to do, really. And a few different strains have come out. Anyway, the more aggressive strain is like the backup strain, or it might nullify resistance. So once you've culled the herd slightly and you reduce resistance, then a more milder virus can hold or take root. Because it's been attacked, it knows that people are taking antibiotics and things to try to combat it, but it will make things worse, because basically the immune system and inflammation are kind of usually a bit connected, and so therefore you'll have more inflammation in your lungs and you can't breathe, and your immune system will be kicking off with your lungs, and it'll be filling up with fluids and all sorts of things will be going on, so you actually accelerate your suffering and your recovery. But you might actually just accelerate your suffering to the point that you die anyway, so it's not going to really help you. But slowing it down, you can better manage it and increase your chances of survival. So there's a few things by reducing stress, and the stress will come in forms of anxiety, fear and so on. The other issue with anxiety, fear and panic that people are going to have is, at the moment people are kind of trying to fill the gap by buying things. When they can't buy things, their demand will be still there, and so it will enable them to do criminal acts that would normally be achieved. So if you leave your car filled up with toilet rolls, the boot, and someone sees easy access to it, they will nick from it. In the same way for anything else, and also family members might do that sort of thing as well. And you've got to be thinking more practical. You want things that last. So for my business, well, my kind of career path is I'm in the healthcare section. I deal with as day-to-day care for some people and other sorts of support I do for the company. The issue I've got now is I've had to buy things that are permanent, not temporary, not things I can throw away, because when they stop producing masks and aprons, I don't have them anymore. So I've got a permanent PVC apron. It's sort of oil-proof, so I can clean it and so on. It's also white, so I can pick up anything. So if it's, like blood or some whatever body fluid I can come in contact, or medication, I don't want a cream on me or something, a topical cream on me. But the mask is also washable, so I've got washable masks, so I'll be able to switch around. I've also got I've got some other things. I've got a gas mask as well at home that I could put into some practical use. I've also got another mask coming that's a bit more like you'd use if you were dealing with pollution. So a ventilator type device, the ventilation mask, and Jesus, big potholes everywhere. This is probably get worse as well. So I was thinking in my head earlier, it'd be like a fusion between Mad Max and healthcare. So I was thinking of a movie, I call it the Caremaker, the Peacemaker. I'd be going around helping people, but then I'd be meeting up with gangs who try to rob me and stuff. Because that's what happened. So the first thing to understand with crime is it's usually people that know you, and it also could be family members. So if you've got things that you consider valuable, like you might have alcohol that you might be using, you can drink it, or you might use it for wounds, you might use it for all sorts of things. Advertising that you've got it isn't a good idea, and probably having a stash, have your kind of safe cupboard. You might have almost like your panic room, safe room. You might have something there where you've got stuff in there that you've kept safe, so you can reduce any sort of issues of hazards or theft and other things, because they happen. People say, "Oh, you got toilet roll, have you?" And then looking at permanent things, you might have to use cloths and things, handkerchiefs, and rotate them and just wash them. Your own germs are not a problem. It's other people's. And for the ventilator, I can probably add things. I might add some copper, powdered copper into the because it's got something. It's got like ground coconut husks, and they're supposed to have some kind of a good way of detoxing and filtering out things like pollutants and stuff. But I'll need to add something that can deal with the virus side of things as well, because it's quite small. your copper. And it's going to be rare that I get that close to anyone with the virus. However, all the government guidelines are not. I mean, they're good in theory, but they're not great. Let's put it that way. When I had an infestation of spider mites, to isolate them to one plant and just to kill that plant, they seem to just spring up everywhere. And this idea of a 1 metre range, yes, if you were in a room where nothing was moving, that would be fine. But all you've got to do is move and create a current, and whatever's there come out of their mouth will travel across the other side of the room. It's like when you're cooking, it's not limited to one room. The range doesn't just stop. You can smell it a long distance, you know. So it's kind of, that's what's going to happen. It's going to create some kind of an aerosol, but it'll be carried by the wind, and then it'll just stick to things, and then eventually people will basically intake it somehow, whether they touch with their hands and put it in their mouth or breathe it in. The virus, though, is, I mean, from all the stuff I've had to read because of work-related stuff, it can go in your body fluids, and it can also remain outside of your body for about an hour. So if it's on something for an hour or so, it can incubate, and you can use, you know, basically infect someone. And the virus will want to go into hiding. So if the virus is that intelligent, collectively, it will go into someone's chest. Maybe somebody thinks they've got chest problems ongoing. It's just these idiots around this place. He's walking the road, there's some car next to the side of me, I can't move around it. Yeah, basically it's gonna host itself in, it's gonna go into a host, and it's gonna go into some hibernation stage. If it's affected by the weather and temperature, but at the moment, since it's gone wild in Spain, it may not be. It may actually get worse in warmer weather. Applying a influenza model may not work because I don't know enough about it. I mean, I can research it. How does it kill people? Now, there's other things, little techniques as well. Dry fasting. You want to fast, you want to rest, you want to reduce your heart rate, you want to reduce your respiratory rate. So you're breathing. You basically just want to be in a kind of relaxed state as possible. I'm just trying to think about, warm air is probably quite good. You want to keep your body temperature down if it has fever-like qualities, but a warmer environment that's less humid will help to dry out your lungs if there's fluid build-up inside. The only time you might want any kind of fluid is if it's got some kind of antiviral qualities to it. So that'll be fine. You want limited, obviously, your access to strangers and people. Within work settings, you just want to basically deal with things. The longer you're exposed, the more of a risk factor is of contagion, basically, of getting something spread across. Let's get around a bit. Got to make sure I'm not driving too fast. I may have to also, people are going to resort to brutality if it gets really bad. And like I mentioned, if people fear, you have to take out certain survival strategies. You might want to have something defence around with you. You may want a defence plan in place. And you've also got to think about how desperate and crazy your neighbours might get. You might have to kill one of your neighbours, which sounds terrible. But imagine if you've got a whole family and somebody's infected and they're screaming at the top of their lungs and banging on your door. You're going to say, look, leave us alone. I don't want my family getting sick. Go. Well, I said, I haven't got this, I need help, I haven't got any food, shut the supermarkets, you know, nobody can help me and stuff. And so we can't help you because you're at too much of a high risk. Go home and lay down. But if the guy breaks in, then you might have to knock the guy out, or whatever the situation is. I think I saw something like Walking Dead. It was like, you know, somebody holding up a bloody gun to a child's head. Give me your water, or give me your food, or whatever. So hopefully it's not that bad. However, you have to remember that there's a driving force for survival inside you, and the kind of, like I could say, the reptilian qualities in me, reptilian qualities, they are quite happy for this insaneness. There's an excitement about it, but I think there's a kind of a death attraction there. Bit of a kind of a death wish. It's not quite there. It's just I think I can survive a difficult situation. Here's the challenge. So that's how it's kind of geared up. Because you've got two things: you either panic or you're going to strategize to deal with it. And if you've got something built in, you think, well, I can deal with this shit. Then that sort of comes out in you, I guess, for a bit. And also, would you euthanize somebody who's very ill? Probably not, but it could be difficult. It may be the compassionate way. You might just let them die anyway, or you might kill them yourself. But it wouldn't be necessarily very nice. It depends on the situation. I mean, for the virus, I don't know. But they had things like with the Spanish flu. If somebody did turn blue, they used to call it the blue flu as well. Because basically, it suggests that the virus had evolved somewhere else, and it has the capacity to attack a host in more than one way as a defence mechanism. And so these people, they basically had cyanosis, and blood vessels had all gone, and they were starved of oxygen, and they turned blue. They used to die within about 12 hours. And there was other things as well, like the lungs were badly damaged, and so people's bodies would start taking in bowls of oxygen under the skin, and it would be like Rice Krispies or something that makes sort of crunchy noises, and it's just horrid. But it made people question: is this Spanish flu? Is this flu? It just means they don't know flu well enough. It's an old virus. It's got a lot of skills, and it gains certain skills from people it infects. But it's also a collectively intelligent virus. So you'd be better off to submit to a milder form. If someone's got a very mild virus, say somebody got it and they got better instantly, really quickly, and you notice that other people got sick from this person and it was pretty mild, then there's a good chance, as long as you're healthy, that if you did catch that off them, you won't get the other strain, because your body would have a defence mechanism there. And it's like there was a thing about cowpox and chickenpox, or I think something like that. If you catch one, you won't catch the other. And how you catch it as well could be important, because if you breathe it in, it gets into your lungs. It's a problem. But what happens if it enters another portal in your body? I mean, it's a bit like syphilis. If you got it on your hands, it would cause them to go red and blister, and your body will develop an immunity to it. But if you got it in your sexually transmitted, it would be terrible. Maybe you can get corona sexually transmitted as well. Something you need to think about. I think it's something possible. There was something about urine and feces and body fluids and stuff. It's not limited to the lungs, but it could be that they don't know, and so they just want to say this, or just to panic everything. They're mad on things like disposable gloves and so on, but you could wear something more permanent, depending on what you're doing. It may be that you've got a pair of leather gloves, or you've got some type of gloves. So, ideally, PVC gloves, something you can clean with soap and water. I mean, if I'm stuck as a carer, and imagine this virus is around for the next several years, and the workforce starts to slump because they're getting sick. It's a sick recover. They might come up with a vaccine, but imagine if they can't find a vaccine to it, and it's slowly chipping away at the population, and there's panic that everyone's wrapped up in. That's something they need to do the journey. Are you scared of dying? The reality is everyone's going to die at some point, but you don't want to die in a horrible way naturally. You want to die in a natural way naturally. So it's but it's a part of nature. It's a culling system that's built in. It could be that we've just pushed too far, and so this is sort of trying to bring us in. I mean, there are good sides to it as well. It will bring about new behaviour. People need to be a bit more aware of the situation anyway. It's nice to just fly out in front of me without indicating. Yeah, it's things like people are just stuck on their tablets and stuff, and they're touching things. They're touching their tablet, and their tablet's incubating these viruses on it, and they're not cleaning their bloody phones. And then they put it next to their face and they start chatting to it, and then they're sucking it in, the virus. You know, they're setting themselves up. And then public places as well. I mean, bring your own knife and fork if you are going to eat out. There's a big issue. I mean, I went into a place like Waitrose, and I apologise if I've said there's another video, because I might have done that. Sometimes I do videos and I delete them and I think about them and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, there was a young chap in there, no gloves, handling money, shipping pins as well. That's a good way to avoid things. So yeah, he was handling things. He wasn't washing his hands that well. He was touching cups where his fingers were going to the rims. So if you picked it up and you drunk out that cup, you basically almost sucked his finger. That's what it's almost. Because he's got his fingerprints on the rims where you're going to put your mouth. So he just wasn't bloody thinking. And they never washed the tables, never wiped the tables. You know, people were in a sort of pattern of putting things on the tray. But I think people will just leave stuff there for other people to pick up because they don't want the chance of exposure to other things. And kind of the limitations, and I think people are giving things like burkas a tough time, but actually they're going to be a good little shield against some of these things. I mean, it's not necessarily going to stop the virus, it's just going to reduce the chance. And also how, like I said, how you get infected could be a big key factor. It's not like you're going to inject the virus into you. On a conspiracy theory, you know, when Meghan left the UK to go to Canada, there was the Megxit. It could be because they knew that this was coming, and it was a contingency plan. And possibly sat on the fence on it a bit, but a lot of things like people going out and delivering stuff, like this chap in front of me, I bet he doesn't wash his hands. I bet he doesn't put alcohol gel on himself. You know, he's handling food, he's chatting to customers, he's doing all sorts of things. And places like Deliveroo, that's going to be really, really crazy. Because they're always out. Okay, anyway, I'm going to finish this video here, because I'm going to be waiting behind him. So, take care, keep safe, and speak to you soon. Bye.